Hey folks, so in today's video I want to just show you this thing that I built. So this here is an antique 1920s automobile flower vase. Instead of air fresheners back in the 20s and early days of automotives, some cars would have flower vases in them. Now this, I believe, is a generic version or an aftermarket flower vase from the 1920s. And I picked this up at an antique store in Beckley, West Virginia one time when I was passing through. And I went ahead and bought a plaque from Michael's. You know, they come in different lengths, and longer one, you could have put a nice tall rose in there. But I want to show you how I actually made this, because I didn't just put a little bracket on the back to hang it, but I made my own. Okay, so you can see it's not as dark. What I did was, for the finish, I used just simple Minwax walnut stain, and I just put so many coats on the front to give it a nice shine and make it darker. And I did sand and then give it a final coat. And this was just a simple coat for the back, just to do some sort of preservative. But I measured and put a 90-degree bracket, about the smallest one I can find, that, well, not the smallest, but the right size, and the screws were less than 3/4 of an inch. So this is 3/4 of an inch thick. So I bought the one where the screws were shorter than that, so I didn't have to drill all the way through. And I do drill pilot holes, especially with pines, so it doesn't split the wood. I used a Forstner bit to drill a wider hole, and I also chiseled it in, and if you look, I chiseled it to make sure that this bracket is recessed a little bit. And then I took some self-adhesive craft foam. You buy them for like $1 a sheet at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I bought the brown one, and I have other colors as well. They come in multiple colors, but using a hole punch, I made 4 little pieces of padding to go on the corners, so it could sit perfectly flush against the wall, but I wanted it with just a little padding, because the stain, you never know if it's going to scrape the wall, and if you replace it with something else hang something else, and you don't feel like repainting, there might be a little coloration rubbing off from here onto the wall. Anyway, this is what you do, and by recessing a bracket this way, it's perfectly level with the wall. It's not hanging down like how they do, and I hate when people mount it that way. Now I had to drill pilot holes for these 2 screws, and as you turn the screw, I didn't want the metal to rub against the actual antique bracket, so I used some washers to help protect them. But this one was a little tricky because of the vase, to get it screwed in, but then I realized that this can actually pull up. I wasn't sure if I could or not. I don't really want to bend it out, but one thing I could do with this vase is stick a rose in there or a flower of some sort. But there is another idea. So I'm sure some of you have seen my other videos featuring my beloved Nepenthes pitcher plant in this hydroponic style setup. And I made a ring using a zip tie, and I did it in a specific way, kind of inverted versus the normal way you would zip tie. I have a video on my channel about that if you guys want to check it out. So what I can do is actually put long fiber sphagnum moss in here with a bracket and a wick down here. Then you can see the level of the water, and I could put a plant here. Now the Nepenthes likes to branch out, so if you see the leaves, they grow in all directions, but I could find another plant that would be happy in a setup like that to grow here, and maybe something that doesn't get too tall. If you notice how I have this offset, so this is roughly about even, although this is a little lower, but that seems okay. Just so that when you put a plant, it's going to be against that background. Now a flower, if I got a taller one and I had a nice long rose, it would look gorgeous. So anyway, this is a simple project that somebody can do using an antique car flower vase. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and happy planting.